receipt of audit reports of the Independent Electoral Commission for the period 1st January 2020 to 4th December 2022 and any other business. I've observed that the chairman is seated today, but that this is also in the agenda, the administration of report for affirmation to be added to the agenda. And with that, proposal honorable members for amendment and honorable members that the agenda be adopted with amendment.
Move to adopt the agenda with amendment.
Yes, Honorable Chair, I second the motion.
It has been moved and seconded that the agenda be adopted with amendment. Those in favor, please say aye. And no in favor, please say no. Ayes have it. On that note, the agenda is adopted. We proceed. Before we do so, the chairman, can you introduce yourself? You are the only new member here. All members have been with us for the last 2 meetings.
Good morning, everybody, Chair and honorable members, any officials, everybody in the room. I'm Joseph Cody, the chairman.
Thank you very much. Chairman, Madam Clerk, can you administer the affirmation?
I, Joseph Cody, do hereby affirm that I will speak the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth. Swear that I will.
Thank you very much. Members, we can proceed. We stop at 4.1.6, now we are going to 4.1.7. Failure to provide contract documents of verification staff. That could be found in page 41. And the findings, the review of retirement documents relating to presidential election 2021 and discussion with the management revealed that 14 temporary verification staff were appointed on contract basis, that is, to get the candidates' nomination documents submitted for the 2021 presidential election. These verification staff were appointed and paid, but no appointment letters were provided by IEC to the auditors of verification. The details are indicated in the table, and therefore the auditors recommended that the management should ensure that the appointment letters of those temporary staff basis are provided to the audit team for review without delay, and management responded.
Response noted, however, in the subsequent election, appointment letter form was copied and filed for each verification procedure was provided to the audit team. Action to be taken to provide appointment letters in original to any hired verification staff. It's a responsible commission.
The question was for it to be provided without delay. I don't know why there is no further comment from the auditors. Yes, sorry.
Yes. According to the management response, they have acknowledged, and then this will make follow up in our subsequent audit. That's why we did it.
Follow up in the subsequent audit.
Yeah.
Okay. To be confirmed in the subsequent audit. Honorable members, can we proceed to the next issue? That is 4.18. 1.8, payment of monies to private personal bank accounts of staff. The findings on that, the bank statement and the payment voucher file, the audit noted that funds amounting to 201,323,850 relating to election expenses were paid to returning officers, private bank accounts to handle all election expenses in their respective regions. Details are indicated in the appendix F of the report. And therefore, the audit recommended that management should provide the audit team with plausible explanation accompanying adequate supporting documents as to why this practice prevails during the period in scope. And that the management agency should also ensure that they completely desist from transferring public funds to individual private accounts to carry out office functions, as this is totally against the financial regulations. As well as management should explore cashless means in the form of electronic money transfer platform to settle election expenses. So there are three parts of the recommendation. The first part has to do with explanation, and then the other one for IEC to desist from such action, and then the IEC is encouraged to explore cashless means in the financial transactions. So the management responded.
This was the most convenient method for the Commission at the time, and it worked well for the Commission no ahead of clearing the past. However, the Commission has already started looking into alternatives or options of paying election funds in the next election cycle without paying such funds in any returning officer's bank account, as advised by the Finance and Public Accounts Committee and National Assembly in October 2020. Action to be taken: finding appropriate means of election fund payments as advised. Officer responsible, Commission, date when situation regularized, next election cycle.
No further comment from National Audit. Why? You are satisfied with the explanation?
Yes, we follow up with in our subsequent audit engagement.
I think this particular part was a talking point covered by the media. I can fully record the 301 million from, I don't know, as if the money was deposited to IAC and we could not confirm where it came from. So there are a lot of questions surrounding this 201 million in the media. So basically, what was wrong here is for the money to be deposited in the private bank accounts of the returning officers. Not necessarily the money was embezzled or was missing, but it was not supposed to be paid in the private bank accounts of the returning officers. And according to the IEC, that was the method that they were relying on at that time to ensure the monies reach to the election officers. So what should be included here is, I'm not sure whether IEC has done that to ensure that in their regions, as you have your accounts at the national level, you can also open your regional accounts so that the returning officer of the region and staff can rely on that. Then you can be saved from depositing the money in the private accounts of the returning officer. If you have not got your regional accounts I think it should be incorrect that you open your regional accounts. I'm not sure whether you have already done that, but if you have, fine, can you clarify on that?
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, honorable members of the Assembly. As rightly stated in the response of management, we've already started engagement with various banks that have the capacity using even mobile wallet applications to make sure that payments are handled directly and in the regions concerned by the banks and the mobile entities. Mobile application wallets that we're going to be engaging that they can pay directly without the money transiting through the IEC. So that is already been taken care of. We've got verified our discussions. We've sent them a concept note on what we expect and what should be done, and we've engaged about 6 or 7 banks. Yes. So yeah. So we've taken on board that. Yeah.
You've already released your timetable for the next election cycle.
Yes.
So to avoid the occurrence, you should try to speed up the process and then finalize so that before any payment could start at the regions, that process is finalized.
That is being done, sir. The CEO will elaborate on that.
Thank you very much.
Chair, your hand was up. I'm sorry, the camera lady is covering you. The National Assembly Chair.
I think we expediting the process, and very soon we will try to sign a contract with the most compliant or service provider in that aspect. But we have started piloting because we have had 2 by-elections in Marseille and in Abdel. And what we did with the police and some of the others, we started, because that's a smaller scale, so we issued them checks. Because we avoided the returning of giving the money to the returning officer to expand. So even those with contracts, those who provided things were paid directly. So that it can, just to avoid what has happened. So we started implementing the recommendation.
Yeah, as you said, that is in a small scale. So when it's going to be large scale, such will not be possible.
Yeah, because we programmed the election, the voter registration from April to May. So before the turn of the year, we would have gotten the agency or the bank to do that. So this is of concern to us. So we've taken it with very seriously, and definitely it will not occur again. And yes, it will be done during the commencement of the voter registration. We'll make sure that everybody to be paid is paid enough through a financial institution.
Okay. Yes, Chairman.
Yes, thank you very much. Can they also elaborate on what electoral expenses where this money is intended for?
Pardon?
What electoral expenses where this money is intended for?
Honorable Chairman, I think the question is not on the expenses as such.
No, I know where I'm heading to. That's my first question.
Yeah, well, what I'm trying to say here, the issues surrounding the transferring of the fund
The personal bank account.
to personal bank account,
Yes.
but not how the fund was used.
No. Yeah, we first have to establish what kind of expenses they were making. Was it urgent? Did they have time to follow due process? Things like that. That's where I'm heading.
Okay, you may go. Okay.
Yeah.
You've asked the question?
Yes.
Can you go over?
I want you to elaborate on what electoral expenses are you referring to here?
Yes, if you look at the elections, we have both international and we have local. So the international one, that one is processed by the bank. You don't have problems. So these are, like each region has a budget. So the budget for elections, that's payment of staff, hired vehicles, that's the operation, fuel and everything. So these are the expenses we are talking about. So each, like for instance, I give you an example. I was returning officer for Canada. So all the expenses for the presidential elections in the Canada region amounted to 9,377,370. So everything on Carnival was put, I just give you an example, was put into my account. So I had to go with the finance officer to withdraw 2 days before, because I couldn't carry all this money, 9 million in one time and go. So what happened was payment of staff, payment of hired vehicles, fuel, police, everything. So everything is budgeted for. And then those are the expenses. Because with the international budget we have, we are supplied with indelible and the like. So these are some of like wiring of and training and all those things. So this is the expenses generally for the operations of the elections.
Yeah. Okay. Then, did you do any form of retirement after this expenditure of these funds?
Yes.
The auditors, have you seen those retirement?
Yes, we review the retirement documents, but we have a fine relating to retirement of those documents as well. Retirement of those impresses. We have a finding, separate finding for that. This specific finding was a payment made into private bank accounts of the returning officers. It is a violation of the financial regulation. That was what we are looking for. But there was a separate finding relating to retirement of those impresses that were issued to the returning officers. So we'll get that.
No, but of course, in order to perform our oversight, we have to be well informed about this thing. It means that, this was not, you are not in a state of urgency. You had time to follow due process, to put those funds into the region's accounts.
There is no regional account.
Yeah, but then there was a need for them to open up regional accounts.
That's why I was saying that.
Because reading their response, the management response doesn't fit with the auditor's query. Because if the auditors didn't flag this, so they would have continued the same thing.
That's the essence of auditing.
Yeah, exactly.
I said that's the essence of auditing. Maybe that was the trend they were doing. So now audit has put into them, no, that is against the financial regulation. So instead, you should find the alternative. One of the alternatives could be opening the regional accounts or whatsoever, but it should not be paid in the personal accounts of the staff of IEC. Maybe that was the trend, but now the auditing is telling them that was wrong, and now they are complying that they will make sure that it's regulated.
Yeah. It doesn't have to take auditors. But as usual, we can proceed.
Honorable members, can we proceed to the next issue? And that should go with 4.19. Failure to provide appointment leaders for temporary election duty staff. In the finding, the team noted that they requested for appointment leaders of the temporary election duty staff who were appointed for 2020, who were appointed elections from 2021 to 2023. However, they did not receive any such appointment letter as indicated in Appendix G. and therefore Audit recommended that management should give possible explanation with accompanying documentation as to why temporary staff were not issued appointment letters during the period under review, and that in future management should ensure that appointment letters are maintained, and details of this are kept in records for all temporary election duty staff that are appointed during the election, which will serve as contract binding for both parties. So the management also responded. Management?
Response. It is noted, however, the original appointment letter forms for different categories of police staff, which were copied and filed for all police staff hired and provided for the DP. Action to be taken to provide appointment letters in original to any hired polling officer responsible to commission it to regular situation, next election cycle.
Last one, Audit.
Auditor's comment. Only a sample of how the appointment letter looks like was provided to the audit team. For details of appointment letters for all temporary elections to this staff was not provided to the audit team up to the time of finalizing this management letter. Therefore, the issue remains unresolved.
The first part of the recommendation was for explanation to be provided with accompanying documentation as to why temporary staff were not issuing appointment letters. And it seems the response did not capture that.
That's correct. Yeah.
Management, can you explain why temporary staffs were not issuing appointment letters?
Yes, thank you, Lord Chairman. Police staff that were appointed were provided with appointment letters. However, one appointment letter was made and copied and filled for each police staff that was appointed. And a copy of this appointment letter for each of the categories was soon or was given to the team of auditors. There was no separate original appointment letter for each polling staff contracted or appointed. Management has noted this, and subsequently, each staff appointed will be given an appointment letter in original and a copy kept wherever they are appointed.
Well, Audit with the view that there were no appointment letters. It appears you are also with the view that there were appointment letters. Audit, can you clarify?
Yeah, I think we still stand by our auditor's comment that only a sample of the appointment letter was provided. In fact, their management response is contradicting what they have said. Because they're saying that the issue will be regularized in the next electoral cycle. It was not regularized at the time. You can see it in the management response template. And in the management response also, they say it's noted, meaning that it acknowledged the finding. However, the original appointment letter form for different categories of polling staff, which were copied and filed for all polling field for all polling staff were provided to the audit team. If this were provided, we would have actually acknowledged that these were provided, but to our dismay, this was not provided. It's only a sample that was provided. You see, this is how they fill this appointment letter.
In fact, that was supposed to be my question. When you said noted, I will not preempt that why I see. What did you note?
We note that they are asking for each appointed polling staff to be given an appointment, original appointment letter. In our case, this did not happen. What happened is we run.
In your case, that did not happen?
Yes. Let me we appoint thousands of people, different categories. We meet one
original for each category, and this is in a form type, and run copies of it, and give these copies to the regional offices to fill for any hired or appointed polling staff. What I'm understanding in this query is that there are each appointed polling staff should have a copy, an original copy, and a copy of that original we kept in our file, which will not happen. So this is why the management has noted their recommendation and promised that subsequently, even if it's going to take us more money, we will have to ask for it to provide this appointment letter in original, and a copy will be kept, and we provide facilities for that. We note the concern. Thank you.
So now it's admitted that individuals were not issued with appointment letter.
Still now, let me just confirm. Still now, all appointed were given appointment letters, but their appointment letters were not originally produced. We have one original appointment letter that was copied and filled, their addresses and names are filled and given to them.
But I would not understand if you say appointment are not original.
Okay, Chairman,
If you explain that appointments were not original, were they photocopied or?
Yes, what happens is like, Chair, what happens is like for presiding officer, I'm just giving a presiding officer. For instance, I always like deal with Canada as an example. I have 276 polling stations. So what happened was one original was made, and then 276 copies were run. So, and then what happens is like, from polling station 1 to 276, for instance, if it's Kemo Dumbuya, I'll give you an example. So we write Kemo Dumbuya of Buluga Kuda, presiding officer. That is how it was done. That is how it was done for all the categories. So what happens is like, for us, at the time, what we do is every appointment letter goes with sort of an good form or an acceptance something. So that is what we keep. We don't keep the appointment letter, because the appointment letter is just one for each person, one for each person. So that's where the could be. So we don't have, because when they ask for the appointment letter, we say no, we don't have the appointment letters for everybody, because we give out the appointment letter. We don't photocopy and keep. We just keep the
You don't file the copy.
You don't file, yes. So what we file now is the acceptance and the code, because there the code of conduct is there. So you accept, and then you accept to abide by the rules of the elections. So that is what was. So that is where the problem is. So what we are noting is now, instead now once we even if at all we're going to fill it, we're going to make copies and keep those copies. So that is what we are explaining now. Not necessarily that the staff were not given appointment letters.
Yeah, what the evidence of the appointment letter, I think where the audit can rely on is what is available in your files. You should keep this in your files.
Yes.
The one given for the staff, the auditors will not have access to that. And they will not confirm that where they were appointed for. Where they can confirm is what is in your file. Yeah.
Chair, just to add, it should be the original, not copy. Because if you employ someone, you keep the original copy, you give him the original, and keep another original in his file.
That's just procedure. If you have to appoint somebody, make sure you give that particular appointee the letter and keep the same original in your file. Honourable members, any comment on that?
It's okay.
It's okay.
As for what is in their response and what is explained is two different stories. I say it is becoming common that when it comes to management response, their explanation always contradicts the management response.
Yeah, I think we are learning, because that was what I was telling them the other time. management response should be relating to the issue raised by the auditors. You respond to that. If things that were not clear to them, you are now available the opportunity to make that clear to them. Go straight to the issue. If it's about explanation, do the explanation. But if you do it otherwise, it may not address the issue. But during the interaction, now you've come to the point. Yes, Vice Chair?
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. We had initially stated that this was a learning curve for us, some of these recommendations, and we would steadfastly endeavor to implement them. In terms of the response that we give. Yeah, they were insufficient. They were not contradictory, but they were insufficient in some instances. We do acknowledge that. And we had committed to making sure that we address this issue in future response, in future engagements with the NAO and other stakeholders. Thank you very much.
Any comment on that? Can we go to 4.1.10? The page of DPA regulations relating to procurement of the ballot bonds. I'm sure at this level we can identify the GPA officer here. So we can proceed. That's what the GPA. During the review of the payment budget, the audit noted that the payment totaling to 760,000 was mainly presidential international award for the production of election materials without requesting for 3 quotes from the different suppliers as stipulated in the GPA regulations. The state single source procurement method was used as evident in the procurement file, detailed in the table, and therefore the audit recommended that management should provide the audit with explanation and documentary evidence as to why these 2 procurements do not follow the dictates of DPA regulation mentioned above. And in future, the management should ensure that all procurements should adhere to the regulation and the act. Management.
This was not only an emergency situation, but also a consideration of President's intention about being a government youth training institute, having the required technical competence and capacity, with satisfactory past track record of producing the mentioned sensitive election materials. For the Commission warranted the Commission to single source these election materials from PIA. Going forward, the Commission's procurement shall always comply with procurement rules. Action to be taken, complying with procurement rules. Official responsible, Commission, date when we shall regularize next election cycle.
Now, Audit.
Auditor's comment. The IEC should ensure that DPPA regulations are always adhered to, regardless of any circumstances. Therefore, this issue remains unresolved.
So the issue that it was an emergency was not enough explanation. Huh?
Even if it is emergency, it requires DPPA approval. So it has to go through DPPA. They will determine that whether it is an emergency or not.
I see you have the audit. As far as the regulation is concerned, issues of this nature cannot be considered to be emergency. Regulation has to prevail. Chairman?
Yeah, okay, we've had, but election is time bound. Sometimes you have to look at the lesser evil, because the tendency of postponing elections, I think that risk is higher than this, because what happened was we had it was a fire incident that burned the 2 good bars and chiefs and counting things, something like that. So if that happens, what That's why we did that. But moving forward, we will definitely comply. Yes, there are increasing candidates, yes.
Honorable members, any comment? By in future, the regulation needs to be followed. However, the conclusion by the audit is that the issue is not resolved. The explanation given is not enough to reverse the concern of the audit. 4.1.11, payments made to unidentified temporary staff. The final review, in the finance, the review of the retirement documents such as cash payment vouchers related to expenses during the electoral cycle 2021 to 23, the audit team were not able to identify some temporal electoral duty staff that were paid wages as their designations were not stated on the cash payment vouchers indicated in the table, and therefore audit recommended that management should ensure that during the process of payment of allowances to temporal election duty staff, portfolio of the election duty staff should be stated on the cash payment vouchers to ensure clear identity and role. And management responded.
Management response is noted, henceforth all payment vouchers shall not only be adequately administered, but also properly categorized and labeled. Action to be taken, labeling all payment vouchers. Officer responsible for immediate action, the Commission. The input situation will be recognized immediate.
No further comment from audit. Meaning,
If acknowledge the finding and is said it will be regularized immediately. So we will follow up in our subsequent audit.
okay, honorable members, can we proceed? Payment not directly made to contracted vehicle owners. The finding during the review of the cash vouchers relating to past electoral cycle from 21 to 23, the audit noted that the total amount budgeted for the hiring of vehicles for Mansakonko presidential elections amounting to 198,000 was paid to one driver or owner instead of the individual vehicle owner. The detail indicated in the table, and therefore the audit recommended that the management should ensure that payments relating to the hired vehicle are made directly to the contracted vehicle owners and not to any other individual. The acknowledgement of the receipt by the vehicle owners should be provided to us for review, and the management responded.
Management response is noted. However, this was for control, coordination, and continued availability of hired vehicles as and when needed during the conduct of elections. Henceforth, all vehicles contracted shall be done on the individual basis. Vehicle contract documents shall be prepared and signed with details of vehicle, driver, and owner contracts, etc. Action to be taken, individually contracting of vehicle owners, drivers with contract documents signed. Officers responsible, the Commission. Date of the organization is next election Saturday.
No further comment. Audit.
Yes, they've acknowledged the finding and they want to adjust it in the next electoral cycle. So there was no comment. We'll follow up in our subsequent audit.
Honorable members, can we proceed?
Yes.
Next issue, 4.1.13, payments made to personnel not on the posting list. And under that, the findings, the posting list was the list of individual temporary staff posted in a region to carry out election duties. Reconciliation between the cash payment vouchers and the official posting list revealed that payments amounting to $1,109,500 were made to individuals that were not included in the posting list provided to the audit team, meaning the appointment of these individuals is unconfirmed, and thus placing a significant doubt on the authenticity of the payments made to such individuals contained in Appendix 1, and therefore the audit recommended that management should investigate the reason as to why such discrepancies and outcome of the investigation should be provided to the audit team for verification. Management?
Response. These were caused by emplacements of polling staff who did not turn up. Be informed that no polling station opened without full membership of the polling staff being present, and no polling station remained unopened because of non-presence of polling staff. Action to be taken. All replacement of polling staff shall be documented separately, other than having their names in the payment voucher alone. Officer responsible for immediate action, the Commission, genuine situation will regularize next election time.
No further comment?
There was no further comment. They acknowledge that they will implement this finding in the next electoral cycle.
Will follow up in the subsequent report.
Yes.
Have comment?
But as per your explanation, if you are to replace a polling agent, you are given a form to fill in that form, which you will give to the returning officer at that police station. So how comes those documents are not available?
This was not because of polling agents. Polling agents are appointed by politicians or political parties.
Yeah.
This was polling officers appointed by the IEC who did not turn up.
Any further comment? .1.14 charging of exorbitant price, that is 115,000 for the sale of building documents. The finding indicated that during the review of the receipt books ranging from the period 21 to 23, audit team noted receipts totaling $150,000 that were for the sale of building documents for the procurement of voters' registration material. These prices are seen to be exorbitant as opposed to the GPA regulations, which states that payments of building documents should only cover the printing cost of such documents as in the table, and therefore the audit recommended that the management should ensure that the price of building documents should be charged in accordance with the GPA regulations, which is only the cost incurred for printing of the building documents. Management response.
Response is noted. However, the Commission sought and obtained guidance and approval all through the procurement process with the GPPA, that's the Gambia Public Procurement Authority. Action to be taken, comply with all procurement rules. Officer responsible for immediate action, the Commission, deal with situation regularized whenever this type of procurement is concerned.
Auditor's comment. The IEC failed to comply with Regulation 4.1 of the Finance Regulation 2016, and hence this issue remains unresolved up to the time of finalizing this management letter.
So GVA gave you the guidance and approval. GVA.
Yes.
Can you clarify? Huh?
My
Yes, can you say light on that?
Thank you, Honorable Chair. I'm not in a position to dispute the position currently because I don't know whether the guidance was by the form an official request made to the GBPA, whether it was at the personal level of one of the officers from the authority. So at this point in time, I can't confirm whether it was an official request sought from the authority. Thank you.
I see.
Yes, for this procurement, from the word go, GPA was involved. Even the determination of the bidding documents that contain the bid price, the price to meet the bids after the purchase, they were part of it. Bid opening and auto bid approvals. There has been a lot of back and forth between us and them during this procurement. They finally approved it. So from the word go, if they had told us as the procurement specialists or the authority, procurement authority in the gallery, they should have told us, don't charge them 50, just charge $10. And above all, what was charged, 60% goes back to them. So this is why we were surprised, but nonetheless we noted it, and subsequently we'll ask them to tell us how much it is charged. They are the procurement authority of this country. Thank you.
How did you involve the GBA?
Through communications, we have the written communications. We don't.
Written to them? Yes. We have evidence of those.
Yes, we have correspondence. We have those correspondence. You know,
can you appeal them to
certainly.
the
Certainly.
Yeah. Why did you provide that to the auditors?
I would ask no problem.
Whether there were correspondence on what the issue is, were you complying with the regulation that's
I know for certain that the procurement file, the IEC that its own procurement correspondent was given to the auditors. And they had it, and it was through that procurement file that they came across, even with the approval given to us by the BPA. So,
no, we only want to establish this point where you said you were guided by GBA, even though the action was not, or we are not in conformity with the GBA own regulations. I wonder why GBA can be guiding you to violate their own regulations. So we just want that correspondence.
okay.
But the compliance of the law is another thing.
Okay, noted. Noted, sir.
So can you provide those correspondence if
Yes.
available? I'll be still to you on the 6th.
Okay.
And the other document that we request, we give you on the 6th to provide us. Okay? So we can add this one also. Correspondence from GPA. But that will not change the position of the audit here.
Security.
Yes?
You're asking us to provide certain documents, and at the same time saying that that would not change the position of the, even if where we provide the documents, that would not change. I guess for clarity purposes, that would not change.
Yeah, we want that clarity is as a result of your response, that you were given the guidance provided by GPA. But whether GPA guided you or not, what is important here is were you in compliance? That's the issue. The compliance part is the issue. And if GPA acted wrongly also, we can also put them right.
Yes.
That's why we want to establish that correspondence.
That is duly noted. Thank you very much for the clarification.
Members, can we proceed?
Yes.
4.1.15 suspected diversion of public funds for personal use. Various regulations were quoted, and then the finding indicated that discussions with the management of IEC revealed that as part of the procedures for carrying out election involves payment of monies to the private bank account of the returning officers for them to take care of the election expenses within the various regions. The returning officers withdraw these funds to take care of election expenses and are expected to return any unused funds to the IEC after the end of the elections. The audit team reviewed the bank statements of each returning officer during the 4 elections held within the period ranging from 21 to 23, and noted that some returning officers did not withdraw the total amount of funds transferred to their accounts by the IEC to take care of the election expenses. There were funds amounting to 1,856,314 remaining in their respective bank accounts, which they failed to withdraw and return back to IEC after the end of the respective elections, raising suspicion that these remaining funds were retained in their private bank accounts for personal use. The details indicated in the appendix, and therefore the audit recommended that management should provide plausible explanation with accompanying supporting documentation as to why these abnormalities occurred, and that management should ensure that they recover those funds from the returning officers and provide evidence to audit team for confirmation, as well as management should ensure that the designated accounts in the name of the Commission are open for such activities so that accountability for utilization of such funds are easily established, especially inflows, outflows, and balance at a specific period of time. This will also ensure that the bank reconciliations are regularly conducted to identify and correct errors in a timely manner. I think the last part of the recommendation is also related to the issue that we passed through, and that was recommended that you should find alternative means, and which you said we've already on that, and the process is on hand here. So that third part of the recommendation, in the same vein, you try to speed up that process. However, the first part and then the second part, management, you can give your response.
Response. These are remaining bank balances of returning officers before their retirement to the IEC. There is no returning officer who had not adequately and appropriately retired all his or her election funds to the Commission. The Commission has already started looking into means of paying election funds in the next election cycle. Without paying such funds into the returning officer's bank account, action will be taken. No payment of these funds into the returning officer's bank account. Officer responsible to the Commission, yet when situation to be addressed in this election cycle.
Auditor's comment.
Comments, editor?
We are deeply dissatisfied and disappointed with your management responses, as this issue indicates a possible fraudulent act. What would have been more responsible as management is to launch an investigation into this matter rather than conforming to the act purported by some of the returning officers. Therefore, the returning officers mentioned in Appendix J with leftover funds in their accounts should remit the leftover funds that was not meant for incurring on election expenses back to the IEC bank accounts. If they fail to do so, legal action will be taken to ensure that the funds are recovered from them and paid back to the accounts of the IEC.
IEC, what the audit team is saying, after the exercise, the money that was deposited in the account were not all withdrawn during the exercise. That means there were remaining funds left in those personal accounts. So you need to do that explanation. or they said to investigate whether actually there were remaining amounts in those personal accounts. If so, how and how much? So that explanation or investigation was not provided in your response. Yes?
Good morning. Good morning. These balances they are talking about is the balance. This is our private bank account. This is the balances we have. We have our own money there. And then when we liquidated, every one of us returned money that is IEC's money. We have receipts from IEC that we return the money. The liquidation will show it. That's why I was saying yesterday, the receipts, the back of the supporting documents are there, and it shows how many balance you have. They went straight to our bank accounts without us giving them. Of course, they have right, maybe Monday, to go to a bank and ask for my private bank account. And they went there and they took the bank accounts. Some liquidated for me, my balance I already liquidated when we finished liquidating. Then they took those balance without consultation. They put it as balance for IEC. So if that balance we give it to IEC, it means we give it our own money to IEC. Those banks balance are private bank balances, and we all liquidated, and we have receipts. That is the balance for election. So I don't see, if there is a balance in my private bank account, it belongs to IEC? No. What belongs to IEC was liquidated, was paid. So my private bank account, they have the right, they are the NEO, they can go and see my transactions. And when I check my private, their bank statement that they put here, I took, and every one of us took their bank statement that they got from the bank, and it was the line withdrawal deposit is the same. So I don't know where they got that.
Yeah, I think it will be very easy to detect, because what is transferred by IEC, for instance, it is 1 million. Now, what should be withdrawn by the withdrawing officer should not be less than 1 million. And that's what they are saying. What had been transferred was not all withdrawn, not all the return, but just some returning officers. If the amount is 1 million transferred, but withdrawal was not up to 1 million. And they believe that that means there is balance in the private account. So you need to investigate and find out how is that possible. Because 1 million is transferred from IEC. That's established. That's very clear. And through this statement, they came to realize that 900 is withdrawn, for example, instead of 1 million. Then that means there should be balance in that personal account. Yes, yes.
In the form of receipts.
With all due respect, when you look at the transaction, you see election is a process. And we all know that the presiding officers are paid a day after. But if you look at the cut-off days, if you look at some of the AROs are paid 2 weeks later. So if you look at their cut-off dates, is date, for instance, the election was held on 4th December. So their cut-off date is before 4th December. If you look at how they tabulated how they cut off, they analyzed. What happens after? Because the presiding officers have to go to what? The coalition center. So that is why they are contracted for 4 days. So their contract does not end on election day. It ends after when they have what? When they have returned all our materials. And the AROs also are paid 2 weeks old. So if you cut off, if you have what? You have to understand the process. That is why we said, yes, it's true, it could be, because for instance, like me, National Assembly said 12,000, okay, 12,000 left. But what happens after that? And then what did I do? If you look at my bank statement, it's RTSG. I use my account to render all the monies that I didn't spend for Carnival through my bank account. And when did I do that? So that is the point here. We have to understand the process. Election is not an event. It is a process. So if you want to make it as an event, then your reporting may have. This is what we want to explain. Because if you cut off all the bank accounts, you look at it, is either on the 3rd or on the 2nd when they have their deadline, the last withdrawal. Because that is the time that maybe the Saturday or sorry, the Friday or Thursday, most of us did that. But if you go beyond, you listen, you check, you check what transactions took place and what expenditures also took place. You understand? So that is the explanation. You see, I think maybe there would have been a more thorough, I don't want to go into what transpired, So I think whatever happens, we will take it up and then we move. But all that we are trying to say is, these monies were they were used, and then whatever we did, because for instance, if I return about 39,000, for instance, if 12,000 is left in my account and I return 50,000, so what's that? So if I hadn't even returned anything, then you could even say that I misused them. But if 12 is there and then I return 40 or 50, yeah, but I think my emphasis is look at the process. I think it's the process and the retirement. Then you'll be able to do whatever you have to do.
I think you provide that to the auditors, the process and then the retirement. Because they are with the view that what was transferred, they have not seen enough evidence to say that we are all withdrawn. Yes, withdrawal might not have all been done on one day, but it's today and then next 2 days another withdrawal, that sequence, you can see that. You provide those evidence. Today 500,000 was withdrawn, then 2 weeks later, it's 1 million. Let me take it that way. 500,000 was withdrawn first day, another 500,000 which was withdrawn. They will see that transaction and add up the two and realize that yes, the total deposited 1 million has all been withdrawn. But if only one evidence is given, that's the $500,000, and the additional withdrawal, no evidence was given, they will conclude that they are still remaining. So it's not the number of withdrawals, no matter how many withdrawals you have, if all those withdrawal transactions, you can have those documents there. Let them be provided, and total them, that will give you the amount that has been transferred. Yes?
Good morning, Chair. Maybe that was your understanding of what the auditors are saying. But if you look at their statement, they are not talking in that light. That is, they took the amount given to the returning officer and the amount spent or the amount withdrawn. No. They look at the particular balance there without checking how much was drawn and the balance there. And also, they fail to realize that.
Let's go to their findings. Let's go to their findings. The third paragraph, second paragraph. The auditing revealed that the bank statement of each return officer during the 4 elections held within the period ranging 21 to 23, and whereas some returning officers did not withdraw the total amount of funds transferred to their personal accounts. Okay? Personal accounts by the IEC to take care of the election expenses.
Yes, this is what I was saying. You should have done the analysis, that is the amount given to you and the amount withdrawn. That will tell you exactly how much was not withdrawn. And number 2, let us not forget that, as Auntie said, these are personal private accounts of returning officers. You are paid an amount. You can send leave your money there without withdrawing it. And none of the police, as Chairman said.
I think the appendix, when we refer to the appendix J. Can we go to appendix J? 130.
135.
The details of the inflows and outflows in the return officers' bank accounts. Yeah, Appendix J has indicated that.
Yes,
The inflows are there and the outflows are there.
I'm explaining.
Yes.
I think that's one part of it.
And they don't, and then if they find, they need not to tell us that this was the amount transferred. What they are intending is to tell us the amount that was transferred were not all withdrawn. But if you go to the appendix, you can see the transactions.
Yes, that's one part of it.
Yes.
My second argument is that, and this is that these are private accounts of the owners. We are also paid. That money is not, our parents is there. That's for our auditors, that's for our drivers who were not paid at their court of deeds. Those who were not paid, and the assistant returning officer were not paid at that court of deeds. And number three, as Chairman said, election is a process. The date of their court of date is well before the election date, because they think that there's a weekend, so there will not be withdrawal after. There are some payments we made after the election, a week or so after election. So this is why we are saying that cannot be justified court of date.
I see. You want to comment?
Yeah, anyhow.
Oh, anyone else? Sorry.
We just need to do some clarification here. When we are doing this analysis, first we establish what was the balance that were left in the returning officer's account before transferring these inflows. So we discounted those amounts. And besides, to be precise, this audit was completed in 2024, 3 years after the election, the presidential election. So saying that we just align it with 2021, I think that's very unfair and incorrect. Because this audit was concluded in 2024. So we looked at all those things and then realized that there are still left over. We didn't say all the returning officers didn't utilize their funds. Some. It was very clear, some. Some were having some leftover balances, and they are not returned to the IC bank account. And besides, when we requested this personal bank account, they all refused. They said they are not going to provide us with this bank account. We used FIU. We wrote to FIU, and FIU were the authority that provided us with all these bank accounts. Because we sent them 2 letters, and they blatantly refused to provide us with these details. That's why we say commingling private funds with public funds is not done. It's against the regulations. Because once you commingle, it becomes a problem. And you cannot commingle public fund with private fund. So that's a serious violation of the laws and regulations. That's what where we are deriving at. Public funds should be kept separately, and private funds should be kept separately. Thank you.
Yes,
Yeah, when these are the questions that I have even crafted here, because I know those balances are not just created like that. They've almost have. I wanted to ask, but he has answered. How were these balances established? And I know it has gone through a process. You understand? And maybe they have reconciled with your retirements as well. So I think the IEC needs to explain more. And I even wanted to ask, when was the auditing done? Was it done immediately after the elections? But here they are telling us that it was done way later. So this is what I'm saying. We still have to respect the works of the auditors and come outright and explain what transpired. Thank you.
I see.
Yes, thank you very much. Honorable, I respect. We respect, what they do. But you see, my stance is, if you look at, we all went to jail, but let's look at jail. The cutoff date when they took these balances, the cutoff date, it's before the elections. As I said, my stance is, the election is a process. Like the presiding officers are paid a day or two after. You understand? Then the others are paid. And then if, for instance, if I just give an example, if you say that I have 12,000 and then it's remaining in my account, and at the end of the elections I retire 50 or 45. So why is that fraudulent that I have? And I use my account to do that. So everything is in the account. Okay? And for the use of private accounts, we've already dealt with them. We said we are looking into ways and means of doing that. We're not going to do that again. We're going to look at another institution to do that.
Audit, yes.
Yeah. Thank you, Chair, for that statement. Well, when we are doing this audit, we requested the bank statement from 2021 to 2023. And all these bank statements were provided. So what is your doubt here, whether we look at the post-election period? We did that, the subsequent period, we also look at that.
But if you look at the document here,
Sorry, can we have one at a time? Not all of you can respond.
The analysis is only related to the period in question. We cannot go beyond, because that was not part of our listing, our scope. But we requested for the bank statement from 2021 to 2023.
Yes, who want to respond? CEO?
Yes, this is a simple matter. They have provided a statement. NAO has provided statement on the Annex G. Let's go through it. Annex G. 131. Let's go through it. You see the issues now.
Yes.
Yes, you will see the issues now. Because we are talking, they're talking before election, they're now talking of post-election. So look at the first one. The returning officer for the presidential is the second. The cutoff date was 2nd December. And as of 2nd December, that was 2 days before the presidential election. And the balance was 31,000. And in this budget, that was given to Mr. Secker, his personal allowance was part of it. And the payment of AROs.
Where are you reading from?
Page 131.
Page 31, yes.
131.
131.
Yes.
And then the first one, yes.
Yes, Mr. Secker.
Yes.
So he was given 24, and as of 2nd of December 2021, which was 2 days before the election, his balance was 31,000. Meaning that he has withdrawn up to 31,000. But this was before election. And after election, he has to pay some of the hired vehicles, the AROs, and the presiding officers. And included in this amount is his own personal allowance. Drive for only. And it goes like that.
So, yes. After, yes. Sorry, CEO.
Yes.
That's the transaction given to auditors. You are not asking other transactions after these ones. Yes, auditors.
Yes, I just want to ask if the explanations that are given are new information to IAC, because they were given opportunity, this report was discussed at the exit meeting, they were given opportunity to provide their responses, and some of the things that they are explaining are not in their response.
Sorry, can we have one meeting? Yes, audit.
Yes, so what I was saying is, whether it's new information to IAC, because we have given them all the opportunity. This was brought to their attention during exit meeting, and also they were given opportunity to respond, to provide adequate documentation if they are available. And this is not what they are saying is not what is in their response. So that's why I'm asking the question whether it's, what they are talking about is new information to IEC.
Chair.
Yes.
With all respect, even if the allowance was included, that will reflect in the retirement as well. So these people were working on your personal bank account. They didn't invent the figures. So that's the query here.
I think here, information should come from IEC, given to auditors. These were payments that were done before elections. And if there were other payments that were done after election, provide them. To them, based on this payment, they believe that the amount that was transferred is total to 1 million. But based on this payment, the amount that was withdrawn and supposed to be paid is 900,000. There is a balance of 100,000. If there were extra payments after the election, you provide. They will not say that there is balance. It is for IEC to provide that, but not for the audit. Otherwise, they will ask you, can you explain or can you investigate why that balance should be there? Based on extra payment you were making, you can tell them, yes, we came to realize that after the close or after the elections, there were this and this and these payments, which amounted to this. And you provide those evidence to them. In the further comment, they will clarify. After our engagement, these extra payments were made and we total to bid. Then therefore the matter is resolved.
Certainly.
As simple as that. Yes, Chair?
I think, okay, here, I'm not speaking because definitely the atmosphere was very it was tense. So even the exit meeting, so I think that was the situation. You know, we have to be very frank. You know, I am somebody who is very straightforward. The atmosphere was very tense, and as he said, there was a push and pull about these bank statements and the like. So some of these things, that was why, you know, like, in fact they had to exit, and then they sent other people to take care of certain things. So there was not a proper, I don't think I would call that an exit meeting. It was not definitely proper. Yeah, so that's it.
Yes, Commissioner.
Yes, Honorable Chair, we are not disputing the fact that they come up with their findings, but some of those findings may be flawed, in the sense that they are basing this on the withdrawals, not by the retirement, by the documents we gave out. Those documents will tell you exactly the money given to IIC returning officers were all spent. The balance is there.
No, let me actually explain.
Maybe you don't understand, because listen, as Chair said, the atmosphere was tense. The atmosphere was tense. There were refusals on the what we presented to them. If I told them this is voucher, I said this is voucher, the payment we made. But they are based on the lowers.
I think that's where we are getting things wrong. The atmosphere between the auditors and institutions should be very friendly.
It depends on, like,
yes, I understand.
when you come to me.
No, I'm on my feet, please. Yes, be very friendly. The essence is they ask you the relevant documents. Provide that.
Simple.
If they are there, they have to establish and verify. If they are not there, they will ask. And whatever is available at your end, you also explain. And what is left to them is to report. We ask for this, but this is not available. But if you want to be exchanging, it's not helping both sides. I was not there, I did not know how the atmosphere looked like. But what I'm trying to say is to be very cordial and friendly. Auditing is not witch hunting.
No.
We are giving the public fund, how that fund is spent, that's the duty of the auditors to conduct that oversight.
Yes.
In as much as you are very open to receive the public fund, you should be very open to find out how did you utilize that public fund. So one should not see that as with hunting, and then those who are also doing that oversight also should not also try to act in a manner to be perceived as if you are with hunting. So I did say the other incident that came here, that was even tougher than this one, I don't know. The one from the Ministry of Health. That the language that was used there, I mean, sometimes very unfriendly. Yeah, from both sides. Very, very unfriendly. Vice Chair?
No, thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, for those words of wisdom. Because I was not there, but I probed into this also and tried to understand the context and what transpired. And what I can glean from my discussions was that, I will say it here as they told me, that the auditors came with a predetermined mind. Allow me to continue.
I will not accept that one.
No, I'm telling you what, I'm telling you what they told me.
Yes, that is yes.
No, it's not that.
Let's allow that, maybe somebody can say that. For that one, we will not take that from the side of IDC.
No, what I'm saying is about the context.
Vice Chairman, you should respect. We are trying to solve the problem.
No, I'm helping you.
No, you are going back to the problem.
Okay.
I leave it at that. Yeah. In fact, there shouldn't be a problem. As prescribed in section 160, yesterday they were citing that provision 43, section 43, which gives the function of the IDC. These people also, they are constitutionally mandated to enter into any office, to request for any document. That's a given by the Constitution, and that's what they were performing. What we are saying, the query here is that these figures are not invented. They went through the right procedures and channels. They asked you your personal accounts where these public funds were deposited. You refused to give it to them. They went to FIU, who gave them the authority, and they went through these documents and realized that those public funds that were deposited in your accounts were not all used. One. So, and if you are to bank on the retirement here, it means maybe you have used your personal monies outside of that bank account to retire. But as per the bank account, those funds that were deposited there were not fully utilized, and they need to be returned back to where they belong. Thank you.
National Audit.
Okay, I just want to say that if there is a problem during the audit process, we expect management of IEs to escalate this to the management of NAO, because these auditors are sent by the Auditor General and senior management of the National Audit Office. So if there are challenges regarding the audit process, we expect that to be escalated so that management would sit over it and discuss it. Because we don't send our teams to go and bully anybody during the audits. So moving on, you are going to be audited, whether by NAO or a private audit firm. If you have issues during the audit with the audit team, please escalate it to senior management so that appropriate actions to be taken. Thank you.
I see.
Yes, thank you very much. I think there was a time when the Auditor General was there, former Auditor General. Okay. I think that was done. But one thing I want to still establish is, yes, devoid of everything. My argument or our argument is all those things, the cutoff. If you look at the cutoff, for it does not reflect, the election process at all. It does not, because if the cutoff is before elections, what happens after elections? That's the argument here. That's the argument. We know, like, we're not going to what? We're not going to lodge monies again in what?
So, Chairman,
yes.
I think the phone is with the issues on the transfer of the phone.
Yeah, I know.
So I'm coming. I'm coming
Okay.
here. Yeah, and then if you transfer the fund, the IC transfer the fund to personal account, the fund is utilized. At what point is the fund utilized? You say this at this time, how much? 1 million was transferred, 1 million utilized, no queries. But less than 1 million utilized, at the time of the auditing, they came to realize that less than 1 million was utilized. They were question. It almost lies on you to further clarify. After this exercise, this and this and this also were used, and you provide the evidence, no query. They did not say that the whole thing stopped at this particular exercise. They did not say that all that they are after. This was what was transferred, but based on evidence before us, it was this that was used. Then that means there has to be balance. If that was also used after this one, put that to them. You don't need to argue with them.
Yes.
All that you did, provide that. Yes?
Yes. What I want to say is the mood. This thing could have been done, but it was the mood in which they exited. Yeah, the context in which they exited. It was a bit ugly, and that's
It was a what?
ugly. It was a bit ugly. What I mean by that, there was a lot of exchanges here and there.
But if you are listening to each other, this is a simple matter.
Yeah, so going forward, going forward.
No, before going forward, I think we need to settle this one. Because that this is not addressed.
Yeah, but
I understand.
Yeah, but
the payment that we have done did not stop at presidential election.
Yes.
Beyond the presidential election, some payments were effected.
Yes.
Can you provide those evidence?
Yeah, we can give you.
Yes. If those evidence were not provided to the auditor, can you provide those evidence to the committee?
Yeah.
And we'll go through.
Okay.
All that we wanted to establish, or they want to establish, to confirm that 1 million was transferred and 1 million was withdrawn and spent. Finished.
All right.
But less than that, and that was not provided to the auditors, now provide that to the committee. The committee will verify.
All right.
Okay?
Thank you, sir.
And you also give, okay, before I come to you, we still give the, on the 6th also, for submission of that evidence. Honorable Sadi.
Yeah, because what I want to add on, because if you look at the query, it's just mentioning some staff. Now, and then this is paid into personal accounts. And now, I think the auditors have the right to ask for those personal accounts. And then if they refuse, until now they have to go to the third party. And this is where the problem all started later. Is that now they now subject the product. So this was the problem.
It was given the violation of the Constitution.
Can we proceed on the members?
Yes.
Can we go to 4.1.16?
Yeah. What he said, we were discussing, that's even a violation of the Constitution because they were acting under Section 160. And these were public funds deposited in personal accounts. So if they request for those accounts, they should be given to them.
So now we are requesting.
Yeah, we are requesting.
Chair?
Yes?
With your permission. I think what resulted to this problem during the exam meeting was as a result of our request for the provision of this private bank account. Because we requested and it was not provided, and we queried it, that was one of the reasons why we had a very difficult audit. And I will tell you that for free, that even in our subsequent audit, it was in fact worse, because we didn't have a proper exit meeting. We attempted to have 2 exit meetings, all was free-time. So the minor responses you are going to see in that audit is in fact it's not adequate because much of the responses they say they understood it and then they are not provided. So we have we work in relationship with IEC and need to improve. Otherwise, there are no bad.
I think we addressed that. Tempers were high. Now bring them down. Both sides. That will help. Let the IEC don't see national audit to be withholding, to be accommodated, and national audit also should not act in a manner to be seen to be withholding. I think that I've addressed that here. I don't want any further comment on that. Please, yes. Thank you. 61, 4.1.16, failure to contract private vehicle owners. The finding indicated that the management of IEC revealed that part of the procedures adopted by Independent Electoral Commission on carrying out elections activities involves hiring commercial vehicles to run election errands. These vehicles are used for transporting election equipment or materials for the personnel on election duties to and from the polling centers across all the regions of the country. The review of the budget estimate relating to the past electoral cycle, ranging from the period 21 to 23, revealed that IEC budgets to hire 874 commercial vehicles. However, the audit reviewed the retirement documents relating to election expenses during the past electoral cycle. It further revealed that IEC hired and paid commercial vehicles owners without any formal contractual arrangement between them. Details in the table. Without formal contractual arrangement. And based on that, the audit recommended that IEC should ensure that all commercial vehicles that are hired to run election activities are contracted. That is, they should fill and sign a contract form that will entail some basic information to each verification of hired vehicles. They need to sign contracts. Management, respond?
Response is located hence what all commercial vehicles contracted can provide the contract to be filled and signed with details of vehicle and driver owner, contact details, etc. Action to be taken. Contracting of commercial vehicles, vehicle drivers with signed contract documents. Officer responsible to commission. Date to be realized next election cycle.
So, verbal contract is not enough. Maybe this judicial owners, maybe even the politicians, we have contract with them verbally. But that's from our own money, that's not public court. So what anyone is saying, the verbal contract is not enough. It has to be documented. Okay?
Yes.
I like that. And I've also learned from that as a politician. We go to the car park and ask them, they give them the price, payment finished. All they need to do is to sign. You receive, you are paid, finished. But no contract document. But anyway, saying there should be contract document. Thank you for that. No further comment, anyway?
You see.
No. Acknowledge and then we will follow up in our subsequent audit.
Very good time.
4.1.17 on non-payment or paymasters. The finding indicated that the audit reviewed the state for various elections and regions and noted that a significant number of cash vouchers with portion to be filled by those persons conducting payments were left unfilled, and hence meaning that the persons conducting the payments were unknown, and therefore recommended that the management should ensure that all persons conducting payments on behalf of the Commission through the use of cash payment vouchers should fill in those portions available to them on cash payment vouchers for evidence of conducting payments. Management?
Noted. Going forward, all cash payment vouchers shall be provided and adequate action to be taken. All portions of cash payment vouchers to be billed. Officer responsible for remedial action to commission. Date of debt sufficient to be realized.
Senator?
Yes, they have acknowledged that they are going to implement the recommendation, so we will follow up on our subsequent audit.
Thank you. Suspected fraudulent payment of allowances 4.1.8. The review of the payment water files for the period audit revealed that the Commission paid allowance amounting to 15,891,502.53, and this allowance comprised of 3 months gross salary, incentives, nomination allowances, supervision and monitoring allowances, and the motivational token. Furthermore, review of the electoral cycles code 2018 revealed that the above-mentioned paid allowances were not covered within the code, and hence meaning that the IEC should not have paid such allowances, and therefore rendering the payment of these allowances as fraudulent. Review of the payment budget files also further revealed that a memo attached to these payment vouchers relating to the payment of these allowances was written by the CEO addressed to the chairman for all the election periods covered in our audit, emphasizing as it has ever been the practice of the Commission after the successful conduct of such exercise to pay such incentives or bonus to the Commission members and staff of IEC, as it will serve as motivation for staff and make them feel like they are working in the best place they can be. The 2021 presidential election period coincided with staff party month at the end of the year. The CEO made mention of this in the memo above and suggested that a gross salary be given to all staff as part of the incentive in lieu of the postponement of the staff party, making it a total of 3 months gross salary paid as incentive. This was approved and termed, however, continue to pay the 3 months gross salary incentive. Nomination allowance and motivational token, support and supervision allowances to all Commission members and staff for the subsequent election periods covered in our audit, and the table indicated. Therefore, the audit recommended that management will ensure that the Commission only pays allowance that are covered within the Electoral Service Code. There should be clear and legitimate basis for payment of allowances rather than being based on culture and tradition. And management responded.
Management responded. Said this is in line with Section 42A of the Constitution. Being informed that the Commission fully approved and endorsed the payments of motivation as requested by the CEO on behalf of all members and staff of the Commission. The payment of allowances were fully approved by the Chairman for all members of the Commission and all staff of the IEC. This is a motivation. This is a motivation for this encounter in the conduct of elections, as well as encouragement for staff performance and retention. For supervision, monitoring, and support staff payment. We rectify them.
Can you use the mic?
Yes. It says, response. This is in line with Section 42A of the Constitution. Be informed that the Commission fully approved and endorsed the payment of motivation, as requested by the CEO on behalf of all members and staff of the Commission. The payment allowances were duly approved by the Chairman for all members of the Commission and all staff of the IEC. This is a motivation for this encounter in the conduct of elections, and as well as an encouragement for staff performance and retention. For supervision, monitoring, and support staff payment, we rectified that this was not a motivation payment, as stated here in this audit report, but election duty allowance paid to IEC officials and election hours, like all other IEC officers in the IEC regional offices during election conduct for exigency of service. Action to be taken, payment of motivation will be made as captured in the revised IEC Electoral Service Code. Officer responsible commission date restitution will be next election cycle.
Auditor's section, auditor's comment. Section 42, subsection 8 of the Constitution relates to the functional duties of the IEC as an independent office in conducting elections, but does not explicitly give IEC the mandate to pay unapproved allowances not covered within the Electoral Service Code. Therefore, the issue still remains unresolved. Furthermore, the personnel responsible, i.e. the chairman and the CEO, for authorizing these ineligible allowances will be held accountable, and legal repercussions in the form of surcharge will be taken to ensure that these two individuals will completely desist from authorizing any illegible expenditure in the future.
I see. If the matter is resolved, the audit don't make any further comment. We've come across series of that. It is when the explanation given is not enough. What is lacking, then they provide the further comment. And it will make their work easy if what they've asked, you provide that or you clarify that. Now, what's your response to their further comment?
Yes, I think it's a simple matter. Because it's an allowance that was paid to all commission members and all staff of the IEC, requested by the Chief Electoral Officer on behalf of all commission members and staff, and attest to the chairman who has approved and payment was made and received. And this was motivated by the fact that there was successful election and performance will be rewarded. And we leave it to the National Assembly for closing. Thank you.
Now, on what basis the CEO or the chairman rely on, for what legal instrument did the CEO or the chairman rely on to ensure that such payment is effective?
Actually, approval of payment is made by the chairman, and request can be made by any officer of the IEC. The CEO request based on needs of the staff and commission. Approval is also made by the chairman based on what the commission can do within the law, and decision of the commission. Because
if the commission has to decide, the commission decision is based on the law.
yes.
So what law? On what law?
This is why we give 42A. 42.
Can you read 42A? 42 what? Of the Constitution? I think that's the famous clause that is banked on.
Yes, that's the famous one, like you said.
And yes, and then we try to say 150 is also in existence.
Yes. So this is why I say we leave it to the Assembly for closure.
Yeah, the Assembly already acted on that. If you still want to make reference to that, the other areas that we dealt with, we said as far as finance is concerned, that section will take precedence, not this one. And it's left to IEC also to seek for interpretation as the vice chair put. Yeah, so what as it stands, as far as financial matters stands, this particular provision is not considered by the committee.
Mr. Chairman, we fully agree with the summary of classifying of this issue this country.
Sorry?
No, I fully agree that
Yeah.
we had agreed that
Exactly.
for the purposes of going forward on this exercise.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's what I did.
Yes, the IEC have an electoral code, and for all payments of allowances, there are provisions that guide them as to how they should make their payments of allowances. So I don't think our emphasis was this particular payment was not captured in their electoral code. So but they were quoting a section in the Constitution, which was not relevant for the payment of these allowances. That was our emphasis.
So I know the Constitution will not be in detail, so Constitution rely on further laws like regulations to implement it. Not only a provision of the Constitution is enough. There are regulations that are used to implement the provision of the Constitution, and we have an electoral code. The electoral code is a guiding instrument as how you use your allowances, or as how you pay your allowances. I don't know why you do not make reference to your electoral code.
Yes, Honorable Chair, actually when we appeared before the FPAC in 2023, this was flagged.
What is that?
So what I'm saying is, this was noted in our 2023 appearance.
Okay.
And our electoral service cost was being revised at the time of the audit. And it appeared in the audit report. This is why we say we leave it to you and for closure. But definitely, we picked it up and it's included now in our revised service code, and that's it. So we leave it for you for closure.
Yeah, if the committee has to close and if there's no further evidence to revert the position of the audit, then the position of the audit stand the matter is not resolved. Honorable members, is that right? Huh?
Yes.
So that is for 4.1.18 suspected fraudulent payment of the allowances. The matter is still not resolved, and the position of the auditors therefore stands. (4.1.19) on the third funds relating to election expenses.
Sir, sorry, before moving on, the three people who entered now, as usual, they identify themselves.
Who are the two people?
You are not aware.
Who are the two people?
I'm here.
I did not see you. Okay. This one is a member. I think he was here the first day.
No, it was the This one is the IKEA. I don't think it's the valid.
No.
Okay.
Yeah, as far as this company is concerned.
Sorry, my name is Audit, a reporter from the Standard Newspaper. I'm here to cover this session. Is it open or closed?
You are a journalist, okay?
Yes.
Okay.
Am I allowed to be in here?
Yes, you are.
Okay, thank you.
The other one?
My name is Patience. I'm from the Gambia Journal, also a journalist.
A journalist.
Yeah.
And then okay. Who are the two?
It's just the two of us.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was thinking Mr. Honorable Jam is also part of it.
No.
So they are journalists. You are welcome. Can we proceed then? Or retired funds relating to election expenses. The findings indicated that discussions with the management of IEC revealed that part of the operating procedure adopted by IEC during the process of carrying out election activities is the transfer of budgeted election funds to the private bank accounts of the appointed returning officers in the various administrative regions. The returning officers are expected to spend these funds on election activities and to retire. That is to provide concrete evidence of how these funds were spent. The returning officers will submit these retirements to the finance director upon the completion of every elections. Reconciliation between the budget estimate, that is the total amount of funds transferred in the private bank accounts of the returning officers, and the actual expenses from the retirement file for the period ranging from the past electoral cycle from 2021 to 2020 reveals unretired funds amounting to 2021 to 2020 reveals that unretired funds amounted to 7,935,603.55, meaning the revenue officers could not show concrete evidence of how these funds were spent. Details indicated in Appendix L. Our recommendation, management should ensure that all amounts spent on each expenditure line relating to elections be adequately retired and leftover balance in cash should be further retired to the Commission by the revenue officers and obtain receipt for evidence of returning those funds. This evidence should also be available to the audit team for confirmation. Management responded. Management
responded. Retirements were fully made to the IEC and funds adequately liquidated by the returning officers. All retirement and liquidation documents were made available to the audit team during the audit exercise with no questions arising from the audit team.
there's further comment from the auditors.
Auditors comment. Following the management responses, we can still confirm that the outstanding retirement amount total $7,935,603.55. The details of the unretired amount can be found in revised Appendix L. As evidence of how the figure mentioned above was spent is not shown to the audit team up to the time of finalizing this management letter. We recommend that the Commission should recover immediately the following unretired sum from the individual listed below.
Audit. There's outstanding retirement, which total to 7.9 million, and the breakdown is in the table below.
That's correct, sir.
IEC.
Chairman, I think this unretired, you go to Appendix G, L as I say.
Appendix?
Appendix L.
Yes.
You go to Appendix. These are mainly payment vouchers that they did not decline. They rejected. Some of them maybe, like they said, there was unknown payment stuff. And some of them, the categories were mixed.
Payment vouchers that were?
They were rejected. If you go to appendix, if you see the breakdown, like for example here in Carnival, it says 276 presiding officers. They are saying it's been overpaid. If you come to assistant presiding, they are saying it's less. Go to page 142, 43. The breakdown is there.
Here's the breakdown of this.
It's a breakdown of the budget and how the funds were expensed.
How the funds were?
Expensed. If you go to 141.
For all the outstanding?
Yes, they're all tabulated there.
National audit?
Honorable Chair, when an impress is given to an officer, we don't only accept receipts like that. We have to substantiate that those receipts are genuine. If the individual said that the entire impress was retired, we have to confirm receipt by receipt to agree with the total amount that was issued. In an instance that a receipt was included as part of the retirement and it's not clear, we discount it, we don't accept. So in this case, some of the receipts or some of the retirements were not accurate, and as such, we didn't accept some of the retirements. So that's why we arrive at this 7.9 million.
The ones whose the receipts or what were rejected? Audit?
Sorry?
The ones whose payment vouchers were rejected are the ones that amounted to this amount.
No, we didn't reject the payment vouchers. So this was recasted, and this was what we arrived at. When they did their management response,
But did they say payment vouchers were rejected? Did you say that I see?
Yes.
I see.
Let me go with this. During the first draft management letter, the audited funds was 44 million. So they had to come in again and do the recasting again. It went down by 85%. So it shows that they didn't understand. Like for example, the local government elections. You had the council election and the mayor and chairpersons. Some of these vouchers were mixed. And they didn't know how to, they didn't differentiate them. So they didn't accept them. They thought these were double payments. So and payments like dinner, winding up coalition centers, impress, most of these were rejected. They are saying that the receipts don't meet their standards.
The receipts?
The format of the receipt. Yeah, it doesn't meet their standards. So most of them were rejected.
I think in auditing, filing, there's a requirement in the laws and regulations, the financial laws and regulations, how you need to retire if you're giving an imprest. If you jumble up the dates, it is the one that's managing the finances. That is just individual responsibility who should identify how these funds were retired. So as auditors, when we come, we go through what you provided us with. So the dates were jumbled up. So when we issued the draft, they went back and then arranged some of these things. So when we recasted or went through the retirement, we realized that there were still unretired interest amounting to 7.9 million. That is what I can recall it.
Yes, Chairman.
Yes, I know in some of the areas that was a problem. Because like dinner, wiring, they use vouchers. The people sign vouchers and then they discarded the vouchers. They insisted that some of these people, the service providers should have given us receipts. Yeah, so I just give a clear example because I was in charge of qualifying. So my assistant returning officers, it was claimed that they were not paid for 1 month. And these are the people who were in charge of the elections and they were in fact used to pay the staff on the ground. So because what happens is sometimes, if you don't understand how these work, they were like the local government elections, they were contracted for 3 months. Some people will come after 2 weeks and say, then I was vice chairman, I need advance. I need advance of 2,000 or 3,000. So these were all in the vouchers. So, and the vouchers are still there, even with the staff. Everything is still there, and they are intact. So, I'll be surprised to say that, like, you've not paid, because they have not paid the ARs, have not paid the presiding officers who were, in fact, in charge of the elections. So all these documents are they're there. So I don't know. I don't know how.
What query is that there is, or according to the finance officer, that they said the receipt did not meet standard.
What I mean is, for instance, we were giving money to provide. So what happened is the service providers, like they were insisting that they should have given us like a receipt. Yeah. What, for instance, I give
not vouchers.
Yeah, not vouchers. So the vouchers are there. So they were not.
How about the receipts?
Yeah, not. If, for instance, you give me, I know Caribbean is big, but the amount of money you give me,